Daniel Reyes had a rule about company parties: arrive late, leave early, and never drink more than 2 glasses of anything. He had kept that rule for 3 years without fail. The night of the Halloway Tech Gala, he broke it. He could not explain why, exactly. The venue was beautiful, a rooftop ballroom with the city spread out below like scattered diamonds. The music was good. His sister Grace had taken Mia for the weekend, so for the first time in months, nobody needed him urgently. Maybe that was it. For one evening, he let his guard down. He remembered talking to a colleague named Patrick near the bar. He remembered the lights above the dance floor looking strange and blurry. He remembered almost nothing after that. What he woke up to was a ceiling that was not his own. Daniel sat up slowly, his head throbbing. The room was large and quiet and expensively furnished. Morning light came through floor-to-ceiling windows, and the city skyline outside told him he was very high up. He looked to his left and felt his heart stop. Vanessa Halloway was asleep beside him, fully clothed in the dress she had worn the night before, her heels still on. She looked as confused in sleep as he felt awake. He did not move. He barely breathed. She opened her eyes a moment later, and the two of them stared at each other in complete silence. "I don't," he started. "Neither do I," she said. They both sat up at the same time, putting careful distance between them. Vanessa pressed her fingers to her temples. Daniel looked around the room and spotted a room service cart near the door, untouched, still sealed. Whatever had happened, it was clear nothing inappropriate had. They had simply ended up here, in this penthouse, with several hours missing between them. "This is a company suite," Vanessa said quietly, "reserved for visiting executives." She looked at him directly, no warmth and no hostility, just assessment. "Do you remember coming here?" "No," he said. "I remember the bar, then nothing." She nodded slowly. "Same." They agreed, without much discussion, to treat the night as what it appeared to be: a strange, embarrassing, and entirely unexplained incident. Daniel went home, showered, made coffee, and told himself it was over. It was not over. 3 days later, an email arrived in his personal inbox with no subject line. Inside was a photograph taken from street level, grainy, but unmistakable. It showed him and Vanessa stepping out of the hotel together at 5 in the morning, his jacket loosened, her hair down. Below the photo was a single line of text: "Stay close to her and say nothing, or this goes to every parent at your daughter's school." Daniel read it twice, then set his phone face down on the kitchen counter. Mia was eating cereal across the table, swinging her feet, humming something she had learned at school. He watched her for a moment before picking up his phone again. He called Vanessa's direct line for the first time in his career. She picked up on the second ring. "I was about to call you," she said. "I received something this morning." "So did I." A short silence. "Come to my office. Side entrance, 20 minutes. Her office on the 31st floor felt different when it was just the two of them, and the door was closed. Vanessa sat behind her desk, composed as always, but there was something careful in her eyes that had not been there before. She showed him her message. It was similar to his, but referenced confidential merger documents that only a handful of people inside the company knew existed. "Someone planned this," Daniel said. "Yes." She folded her hands on the desk. The drinks were tampered with. "I've already spoken quietly to the event coordinator, and there were 2 glasses prepared separately from the rest, yours and mine. Whoever did this knew exactly where we'd be standing." Daniel leaned back in his chair. He was not a man who panicked easily. He had raised a child alone, handled emergencies at 3 in the morning, and learned to keep a steady face when everything felt unsteady. But this was different. This reached into his home. "Who would want to do this to you?" he asked. Vanessa looked at him for a long moment. "There's a company called Verant Systems trying to acquire us through a hostile takeover. There's a shareholder vote in 6 weeks. If my reputation is damaged before that vote, it becomes much easier to push me out." She paused. "I have been receiving threats for 2 months. I didn't take them seriously enough. And now my daughter's name is in it." "I know," she said, and something in her voice changed, the controlled tone slipping just slightly. "I'm sorry, Daniel. I genuinely am." He believed her. They decided together not to go to the company's legal team. Not yet. Whoever was behind this had access to internal information, which meant the leak could be anywhere. Instead, they began piecing things together quietly, meeting in the evenings after work when the office was mostly empty. Daniel pulled records. Vanessa reviewed communications. They were careful, systematic, and thorough. It surprised him how well they worked together. He had always known Vanessa as a presence rather than a person, someone impressive and distant, observed from across conference rooms. Up close, she was different. She was funny in a dry, understated way. She thought out loud, pacing in small circles when a problem frustrated her. She also admitted, on the third evening, that she had not eaten since morning because she forgot, which struck him as both understandable and slightly absurd. "You run a company of 300 people," he said, setting a sandwich in front of her from the break room, "and you can't remember to eat." "Running a company of 300 people is exactly why I forget," she said. She looked at the sandwich. "Thank you. Mia makes me pack her lunch every morning," he said. "She has very specific opinions about crusts." Vanessa smiled, and it was a real smile, the kind that reached her eyes. "How old is she?" 7, going on 45. He had not planned to like Vanessa Halloway. He had not planned any of this. But somewhere between the shared problem and the late evenings and the way she listened when he spoke, actually listened, not just waited for her turn, something shifted quietly between them. He noticed it and set it aside, because he was not a man who acted on things he hadn't thought through. Mia came first. That was always the rule. Then came the morning he dropped Mia at school and found a folded note tucked under the wiper blade of his car. It had his daughter's name on it. He did not open it in the parking lot. He drove around the block, pulled over, and opened it alone. The note was short. It described Mia's backpack, the color of her coat, the exact time she walked through the school gate. It said, "Back off, or we make sure she understands what her father has been doing." Daniel sat very still for a full minute. Then he called Detective Ilana Brooks, who had been recommended to him by a friend. Someone private, someone outside the company. Brooks was methodical and unimpressed by intimidation, which Daniel appreciated immediately. She listened to everything, asked clear questions, and confirmed what they already suspected. "This isn't just blackmail," she said. "This is coordinated. Whoever is running this has resources and patience. That narrows it considerably." She asked for a list of people with access to the merger documents. Daniel brought the question to Vanessa. The list had 4 names. One of them was Marcus Chen, the company's COO, who had been with Vanessa since the beginning. The idea clearly cost Vanessa something when she considered it. Daniel watched her face carefully. "He knows everything," she said. "Everything about the company, the vote, the documents." "Does he have a reason?" She was quiet for a moment. "He was passed over for a position at Verint Systems 2 years ago. He never mentioned it, and I only found out by accident. I never brought it up either," she exhaled. "I should have." Brooks dug deeper. Within a week, she had found a financial connection, a consulting payment routed through 2 shell companies that ended, eventually, at an account tied to Marcus Chen's brother-in-law. It was not proof enough for an arrest, but it was a thread. They agreed to pull it. They set a trap. Vanessa let it be known, through careful and specific channels, that she had reached a private agreement with Verint Systems, a settlement that would delay the takeover vote indefinitely. It was entirely false. Only 4 people were told. Marcus was one of them. 2 days later, Vanessa received a message from the anonymous account, saying the settlement was a mistake, and warning her not to finalize it. That was enough. Brooks arranged a recorded meeting, framed as a routine executive check-in, in which Vanessa brought up the settlement directly. Marcus's reaction started as concern and unraveled into something else entirely. He said too much. He referenced details that had never been made public. He mentioned the photographs. When Vanessa pressed him gently on how he knew, he stopped, realizing too late that he had walked into exactly what it was. The conversation was on record. It was enough, combined with the financial trail, for law enforcement to move. Marcus Chen was arrested 2 days later. Verint Systems, facing exposure of their involvement in the scheme, withdrew their takeover bid before it reached a vote. Halloway Tech exhaled. Daniel sat at his desk the morning after the news broke and felt something he hadn't felt in weeks. the absence of dread. No checking his phone every few minutes, no calculating risks before simple decisions. Just a regular Tuesday morning, with coffee going cold beside his keyboard. Grace called at 9:30. "Okay," she said, without preamble. "Are you going to explain everything now, or do I have to read about it in the news?" "I'll explain everything," he said. "Come for dinner." Mia had known something was wrong, the way children always know without being told. She had been quieter than usual, watching Daniel more closely, asking questions that were small on the surface, but pointed underneath. He sat with her that evening before Grace arrived and told her a simple version, that someone at his job had been dishonest and caused problems for a lot of people, and that the problem was now fixed, and that she was safe, and that she had always been safe. She considered this seriously. "Were you scared?" she asked. "A little," he said. "But you fixed it." "With help, yes." She nodded, as though this was the correct and expected answer, then climbed off the sofa and went to set the table. Daniel watched her go and felt something settle in his chest. Vanessa called that night, after Mia was asleep. "How are you?" she asked. It was such a simple question, but she asked it as though she meant it completely. "Better," he said. "You?" Relieved. Tired. A little embarrassed that it took this long to see what was right in front of me. "You trusted someone," Daniel said. "That's not embarrassing." A short pause. "I'd like to take you and Mia to dinner sometime," she said. "Not to talk about work, just dinner." He smiled, leaning back against the kitchen counter. "Mia has opinions about restaurants. I'd like to hear them. She'll tell you everything, in detail, including which ones have the wrong kind of cups." Vanessa laughed, a full, unguarded laugh that he had not heard from her before. He decided he liked it very much. 3 months passed. The company settled into a steadier rhythm than it had known in years. A new COO was promoted from within. The shareholder vote happened without drama, and Halloway Tech emerged from it stronger, its independence intact. Daniel was called into Vanessa's office on a Thursday afternoon and offered a promotion. Director of Operations, a role that had been quietly restructured to reflect what he had actually been doing for years. He looked at her across the desk and said, "I need this to be about the work." "It is," she said simply. "I promoted 3 people this quarter. You're one of them. I am not confused about the difference." He believed her then, too. He accepted the role. What grew between them grew slowly, the way real things do, through ordinary conversations and minor irritations, and moments of unexpected honesty. Through Mia deciding, after their 3rd dinner together, that Vanessa was pretty okay, which from Mia was high praise. Through Vanessa showing up at Daniel's apartment one Saturday with groceries, because he had mentioned offhandedly that he never had time to cook on weekends, and the 2 of them spending an afternoon in his small kitchen, making something neither of them had made before, with Mia providing instruction she had gathered from a cooking video. There was no dramatic declaration between them, no single turning point. There was only the gradual realization that someone had become important, and that life looked different, lighter, fuller, when they were in it. The Daniel had a new rule now, one that had quietly replaced the old one about company parties. It was simpler and harder at the same time. It was this: pay attention to the things that are worth keeping. He was getting better at it every day,